Micron reported quarterly financial results yesterday after the markets closed on September 25th. That sent the stock price up by 12% on the day after the announcement. I'll review those numbers and highlight why the stock price is jumping. Of course, I'm happy about the stock price increase, as I told investors that Micron Technology is a top 25 stock to buy heading into earnings. So if you listen to that recommendation, you will have made some money on this investment. Now, I'll review the latest financial results and update that recommendation and let you know if the stock is still a buy or if it's time to take profits and downgrade Micron Technology stock. Let's take a look at the quarterly financial results first.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
All right, so Micron reported $7.75 billion in revenue in the latest quarter, and that was up from $6.8 billion in the previous quarter and almost double the $4 billion in the same quarter last year. I think it's safe to say that Micron is coming out of that cyclical bottom in its revenue as a result of the bottom in the semiconductor industry. Now, operating cash flow also jumping to $3.41 billion, up from $2.5 billion in the previous quarter and $249 million in the same time last year. So operating cash flow jumped by more than 10x for Micron in the latest quarter. Now, looking back at the full fiscal year of 2024, which the company just completed, the company's revenue increased to $25 billion in 2024. That's up from $15 billion in the same time last year. So a $10 billion increase in revenue year over year for Micron Technology. Operating cash flow also jumped by more than 5x to $8.5 billion in the year, up from $1.6 billion last year. So these are great results for Micron Technology, and the company needs it because it's investing aggressively in expansion in research and development. I'll share with you those capital investments a little bit later in the video. The CEO saying that robust AI demand is what drove a strong ramp of their data center DRAM products and their industry-leading high bandwidth memory. The NAND revenue record was led by data center SSD sales, which exceeded $1 billion in quarterly revenue for the first time. Of course, this is the same end market that NVIDIA is benefiting from. The investments in building out these AI-optimized data centers is what's driving much of the growth in artificial intelligence right now. That's what NVIDIA is thriving from. And now Micron is participating in that investment as well, demonstrating strong growth in data center DRAM products and in data center SSD products. So Micron now joining the party, benefiting from that big burst in spending in artificial intelligence. And that's great news for Micron Technology stock investors. And that's partly why I've had Micron Technology stock rated as a strong buy. In fact, I have Micron Technology stock rated as one of my top 25 stocks to buy in 2024. And I last updated that recommendation on August 28th, letting everyone know that I thought it was an excellent investment, one of the best that I've been following this year. Management continued to say that we are entering fiscal year 2025 with the best competitive positioning in Micron's history. Wow. Don't you love to hear that if you're a Micron Technology stock investor? Management saying after this quarter where revenue almost doubled, after this year where revenue jumped by $10 billion from the previous year, they're now saying that they're entering 2025 in the best competitive position in their history. That's great to hear. And they say they forecast record revenue in the first quarter and a substantial revenue record with significantly improved profitability in fiscal year 2025. Like I've been saying, the company's prospects are excellent. It's in a great position to benefit from this trend of increasing spending in artificial intelligence. And at the same time, the company is benefiting from the government program to try and onshore and bring more semiconductor manufacturing to the United States. And so it's getting help from the US government to build additional manufacturing facilities, which it is capitalizing on and taking advantage of that to make investments for the future so that its excellent prospects are not just for the next 1 to 2 years, but longer lasting. I talked about capital expenditures. These are long lasting assets. These are manufacturing facilities and things that are going to last a long time for the company. And investments in capital expenditures were $3 billion in the fourth quarter of 2024 and $8 billion for the full year of 2024. Now, when you compare the $3 billion to the $7.75 billion in revenue they generated in the latest quarter, that's a large percentage of spending of revenue on capital expenditures. This is the reason why Micron Technology stock has experienced that downturn in recent months. Of course, this was before the earnings release shot the stock price higher. Prior to that, the stock price had been on a downtrend after being on an uptrend to start the year. Investors got a little skittish with the company's massive capital expenditures. They were afraid that it's going in the same direction as Intel, and Intel's capital expenditures are really putting a cash crunch on the company. But the big difference between Intel and Micron Technology is that Micron's cash flow from operations is extremely robust, so it can use those cash flows from operations to fund these capital expenditures and still have money left over. They still generated hundreds of millions of dollars in free cash flow. In fact, they generated $323 million in free cash flow in the fourth quarter of 2024. So despite these massive investments in capital expenditure, the company is still generating positive free cash flow because it's generating so much cash that it can afford to invest in the capital expenditure. That's not what's happening at Intel. Intel is barely generating $1 billion in cash flow from operations and then spending $10 billion on CapEx. That's what's causing investors to be fearful at Intel. But Micron's CapEx is more reasonable as a percentage of cash flow. Looking ahead, Micron expects the good times to continue, forecasting $8.7 billion in revenue in the next quarter and diluted earnings per share of $1.54. That would compare to revenue of $7.75 billion in the previous quarter and earnings per share of just 79 cents. So Micron expecting a burst in revenue in the first quarter and a burst in earnings per share in the first quarter from the prior quarter. So the company, like management mentioned, they expect a strong year in 2025. They expect record numbers, and already starting with the first quarter, you're seeing that. And remember, we're still in the very early innings of this boom in AI. And then Micron is also going to benefit as edge devices start to be infused with increasing amounts of memory and increasing amounts of storage, because they need that to implement the AI that's going to be on tablets, on phones, on computers, etc. So it's really a great time for Micron and Micron Technology stock investors. So to update my recommendation of Micron stock, do I still think it's a top 25 stock to buy? The answer is yes, and I'll update that recommendation today and let you know that I still think Micron is an excellent AI stock to buy now. Hey everyone, I'm excited to announce that my book, Make Money Buying and Selling Stocks, a 6-step framework for evaluating publicly traded companies, is finally available for sale. Unlock the power of intelligent investing with my 6-step investing framework. It's a proven system designed by a university professor and a chartered financial analyst. Frustrated by the lack of frameworks that met my needs and high standards, I developed this comprehensive guide to help investors at all levels make confident and informed decisions. In this book, you learn how to assess opportunities, manage risk, and build a portfolio that works for you. No investor should dive into the market without a solid strategy, and this step-by-step framework provides you the roadmap you need. Whether you're just starting out or looking to refine your approach, this guide will empower you to take control of your financial future. I've added the link in the description below.